So just what is going on in the mind of a psychotic subject? Let's figure it out with tip number 77. Welcome back to Interviewing and Interrogation Tips for Interviewers and Interrogators. This is tip number 77. We're going to deal with a very important issue right now, dealing with the subject who is apparently psychotic. Now, in order to interview the psychotic, you have to understand the thinking of a psychotic. This person is mentally ill. I'm not going to go through the whole diagnosis and so forth, and that's better left for other venues. We do cover it in class and look at it from the layman's point of view, but I want you to understand the behaviors, what's driving the psychotic subject. As a general observation, Justice Department determined that about 16 to 18% of our subjects who are caught in the criminal justice system are in fact those who have been diagnosed as being moderately to severely mentally ill. About 1.6 to 1.8 million, give or take. Bad news is only about 2.5 million of the folks in the United States have been diagnosed as being psychotic. As I was a kid, my step-grandmother, my mom's mother, died when she was very young. And my step-grandmother wound up being paranoid schizophrenic. And at a very young age, my preteens and early teens, I visited her many times in mental institutions, and eventually, because of political situation environments, she lived in our home for quite some time. And so I was exposed to the behaviors and the thought process, and talking to my parents and my sister, getting an understanding of what was actually driving her behavior. So understand, let me give you an idea of the way I've characterized it. It might bring things home for you. You've heard of the concept, joking around, somebody that is wearing beer goggles. You know, they've been drinking so much and they're seeing everything through the haze or the warped bottom of the imperfect bottom of the beer bottle. What if we all had life goggles? You know, we had our own set of special prescription glasses that we saw life through. And your prescription is made up of your experiences, your education, your socialization, such as mine, if having lived with a person who's psychotic in a home. And then my dad is a pastor. We visit a lot of folks in nursing homes, and we visit people in prisons and in mental institutions and death and suicide. So I've got quite a broad exposure to all the anomalies and difficulties of human life. So that affects a lot of what I do as an interviewer, and as an investigator, and as a researcher. Okay? So my life is affected by that particular vision. Now, it's also affected by your successes that you've had, your failures, your disappointments, your faith, or lack of faith, hate, love, successes, all those things that you've experienced make up your particular prescription. For example, I played football in high school and college, and one of the things that I always played on the line. So when I watch a football game now, I watch the offensive and defensive line. That's the first few seconds of the play. Then I watch the rest of the play develop, because that was my position. Now, you've done the same thing if you played baseball, if you're in gymnastics, your lacrosse, your basketball, and so forth. We all do that. Let's talk about, though, the vision of a psychotic. Through their warped vision, they're seeing things through a filter of paranoia, of thought disorder, of delusions, of verbal and visual hallucinations, thought broadcasting, and so forth. And so their actions are not someone who is interacting with the environment on the same basis that we are. We do have our biases, but they're not warped. Remember, this person is suffering from what's called psychogenic disorder. That's what the psychotic is. He's suffering psychogenic disorder. And for lack of a better term, let's just say there's a problem with their software. And the software's having problems interpreting the data that's coming in, and so it's being misinterpreted. So your subject is acting out on that misinterpretation through that prism of their illness. Now, the way to test this, I want you to go back and look at the series we did in the 5 parts on the cycle of behavior. There was conceptualization, or the fantasy, planning, preparation, event horizon, and then the event. Whatever activity your subject's been involved in, work backwards from that event. Work backwards in time. And does the fantasy of this person fit somebody of a normal or of a well-organized personality? Are they someone who's acting in correct response to the inputs and environments that are going around them? Where, for example, John Hinckley thought that his family thought he was a waste of life. He was a disappointed the family. And in his warped vision, he thought if he could do something spectacular, that Jodie Foster would love him, and therefore his family would think, aha, he is worth something. Okay, so and that's what was driving his behavior. Okay, and then there's other psychotic factors involved. So when you look at the actions of a psychotic, you can see that their warped thinking, the warped perception of the world is driving their actions. Their planning are things that are impossible or incompetent or incapable of being doing. Their delusion of thought suggests that they are capable of doing specific powerful acts or magical acts that they can do. Their thought disorders, that somebody's stealing or broadcasting thoughts, or that they're being driven by voices or images in their mind telling them what to do, that there are forces unseen that are around them driving them. So that begins to invade their preparation and their planning and their preparation. And so you see that they have not planned adequately in advance how to prepare the event, or after the event how they're going to escape, get away, or describe what has happened to them. And most of their actions are almost very, very short. It's more of an instinctive burst or explosion that they finally the situation comes together. So the events have to come to that congruence, just the right mix for them to be able to act out. There's not a situation where they've created or planned or prepared or structured the activity to their advantage. It's almost more of an ambush type of thing. In the old literature that you see from the FBI profiling unit, they'd be called very disorganized behavior, disorganized person. So in your interview, you look back at those things. You look at who you think is asking about who's persecuting them, what are the forces that are at work, what were they hoping to do, and you should pick up in their dialogue, in their conversations, matching up with their psychosis, with their paranoia, with their thought disorders, with their delusions, etc., that is what's driving their actions, not the plans of a nefarious, evil person who is planning to perpetuate an event or an act on someone else, knowingly that what they're doing is wrong. Psychotic individuals aren't aware of the consequences of their actions and are able to garner and to orchestrate a complex thought or structure like that. So take a look when you see that case, and that's a good way also to test that someone is not faking it or malingering or pretending to be psychotic. So there's a way to go back and check if in fact that's what you have, or you have a disorganized personality. And at that point, that's when you get some help. The court services and our correction system should take over and should divert that person to appropriate type of care, hopefully, but we're still not the best in this country at dealing with that. Hope you get some ideas and think about some of the cases of psychotics you've dealt with. Please share with me some of your experiences. Please hit the share button below. Connect with Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. Love to reach out to you and keep you up to date of things that are going on and training opportunities. If your agency is looking for training, again, just give me a call. But we'll find ways to prepare your staff, your personnel, your investigators, to be the go-to person, to be the most effective interviewer that they can, the one that gets that information that's needed to make an informed decision. So until you see you again next time for number 78, this is Stan Walters. Remember, be safe.